Welcome to the Nickels and Dimes Finding Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Kime, and I look forward each and every week to bringing you amazing content that will provide you with a financial education, will support you on your financial journey, and most importantly, help you to find financial freedom. I hope you enjoy today's episode. Welcome to the Nickels and Dimes Finding Financial Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Kime, and today I have one of my amazing business partners, Laura Glatz, with me to share her story and talk about why she's so passionate about the work that we do. So, Laura, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited about this conversation.
No, thank you so much for asking and reaching out. This is exciting.
Good. Well, I'm excited to get your story out there a little bit. And I think that, you have a connection to the work we do that's very personal, beyond just wanting to help people, which I think is admirable. Your personal experience, I think, just ties you to the importance of what we do so much more. So we'll jump into that. But I want to start with my icebreaker question. And I'm pretty sure I already know your answer to this. But my icebreaker question is, if you could be any superhero, who would you be and why?
Well, I wonder what that would be. I'm going to go Wonder Woman.
Yes.
I have been starting to brand myself as Wonder Woman. It started on one of the other platforms. And I just think it came out of I wonder how many women don't have financial knowledge, because that was me. So it's like, you can go to the other, like, it's wonderful how many women have it. Like, you can go into either side of it. So Wonder Woman Financial, I think that's my superhero.
I love it. That's a different take on it too, not from the perspective of necessarily who Wonder Woman as a superhero was, but the wondering that comes behind and ties to the work we do. So I love that answer. I'm pretty sure that's the most unique answer I've gotten as far as the explanation part. So let's jump into the conversation a little bit. And let me ask you how long you've been in financial services and what really drove you to this industry to begin with.
Okay. Some friends of mine kind of introduced us to the industry. We were at a resort in Mexico, and they're like, "Hey, we want to talk to you about something." We were like, "Okay, let's talk." So when we got back, we started having a conversation on, let's sit down and look at what you have and see what you have going on. So I came into the industry. Now think about this: March 1st of 2020 is when I got my code. I had been doing some health coaching, doing some other things. March 1st of 2020, March 14th, 15th, the country shut down.
Right.
So I am doing something new. Didn't really know what I was doing. Didn't really know why I was doing it. But it was like, okay, well, yeah, I'll give it a try. I'll do something. And just kind of stepped into it. So I was able to get my license. I couldn't do anything else. So I could study, right? Pour all my time into that. Couldn't go into an office. I was doing some real estate stuff at the time, and just continued to learn. And I get my license, sit in, and I was just an open book. But I still didn't know that this is what I wanted to do. I've always said, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
Yeah.
But it was something that I could tackle and kind of start doing. So that is how it started.
Okay.
But the important thing, I think, is, and this is what we do now, when someone sat down with me, and I'm the spreadsheet girl. I had a spreadsheet. This is how much I pay. This is my budget. This is some of the smart choices at the time I had made. I had some life insurance. I had long-term care. I put things in place because I needed to protect myself. I was single at the time. So I had things in place. And when I sat down and they were like, "Why did you get that?" I couldn't answer it. I knew I had it, but I couldn't answer it. "Why did you get that long-term care?" because I wanted to make sure that my children always joked and said, they're like, Mom, we're going to put you in the best nursing home on the Outer Banks in North Carolina. Well, there's only one.
Oh, wow.
There's
So
only one
hopefully it's the
nursing home.
best.
And I was like, well, I don't know that I want to be there. So I knew that I needed to protect myself to be able to do something. But then they questioned me again, like, why did you choose that one? And I realized I had made choices, made decisions based on what I knew at the time. But if I had worked for a company for 28 years, I had helped manage that, build that into what it was. If I didn't know the answers to these questions and I felt like I could do a lot of things independently or for someone and help someone, if I didn't know it, who else didn't know the answer? Who else didn't know why they had it or if they didn't have it? So that's really where I said, okay, more people, I need to continue to do this.
I love that. That's what I say to people. My background in corporate finance, having a college degree in accounting and finance, and then I come across this at 46 years old. I come across this business, this industry, and it wasn't about what products I had or why did I have them, but just understanding all of a sudden what was out there from a personal perspective
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't know. It was the exact same moment for me. I'm like, holy crap. I paid almost six figures for a college degree. I've spent 20 years running numbers, helping build businesses, all of these things, and I have no clue. I have no
Yeah.
clue exactly how my 401k works. So if I don't, then nobody does.
Mm-hmm.
So very
Yeah.
much that
No.
same realization of,
Yeah.
holy cow, I need to be a part of changing that. Um,
Yes.
and I love the fact that I get to wake up every single day and serve other people, whether it's through a conversation, through a product, whatever that might
Mm-hmm.
be. Um, it's just a real blessing to get to go to bed every night and wake up every morning with that feeling of what I do matters. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that that's similar for you. So,
Yeah.
okay, so you're about 4.5 years, almost 5 years in then.
Yeah.
Um, now I know, tell me again. Um, I want to touch a little bit on your story. I met you, I know for sure about a year ago, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you and I both transitioned in financial services to where we're at the same company now.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
that's when I think I don't know if were you on our morning calls before that with Jason?
I was uh probably I think better. Were
Okay.
you I think
Yeah.
maybe that's how from elite, better elite is how I really got entrenched with Jason. I knew of him and I had met him once,
Okay.
but I really didn't get until last April. I ran into him and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna follow you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that was about the time last year or no,
Okay.
2023, probably.
Okay. Okay. So I know from those calls I saw you, and that's how I heard about your story. You were going through a battle with breast cancer,
Hmm.
and just showing up and passionate about what we do. And I remember thinking to myself, what a huge battle you were going through personally. And here you were still showing up, just trying to absorb as much information so you could go out there and make a difference for other people. So if
Yeah.
we can we touch on kind of when you were diagnosed and
Hmm.
then just really how that pushed you at that level. You're fighting the biggest fight of your life for your life.
Hmm.
And here you are, just diving even more into the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It is diving more into it, just continuing to surround myself with other people. I I could not go through this alone.
Mm,
You know, if I sat here and was trying to do it alone, of course I have my husband, my Bob, but I couldn't do it alone. I need to continue to be around positivity, and that's what I found with the whole team and everything. So in July, we were living in our camper, and I'll share about that in a little bit, but we were living in our motorhome in July of 2023, and about an hour from where I lived. And I could have just skipped the appointment, but I went for my annual mammogram. And I got a call that same day that said, "Hey, we found something. We need you to come back." And I'm like, okay, never happened before. So over the next 30 days, it was another mammogram, biopsy, and all that. So August 25th of 2023, I was officially diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. Never had cancer before, never knew anybody that had had cancer, never dealt with it. So I became the CEO, the cancer
Mm,
evicting officer that day, right?
mm. I love that.
That was what the job I took on. So I walked through surgery. I had to have chemo. I had to have radiation. So um, I just needed to, I couldn't do this alone. And I was starting to, had been on all the meetings with Jason and the positivity through that. And I hadn't changed over to his team yet. Like it was just still being around people, the positivity that we needed, that I needed.
Yeah.
So just walk through it. I continued to show up. I lost my hair a year ago last year. I just did a side by side. It was like I was bald, and now look at me, and it's like I don't even care if the hair is sticking up or straight or whatever. It doesn't matter. After you've been bald, it just really doesn't. And just continued to show up. And I was getting so much in order to help me, because I truly believe it's the positivity.
Mm,
People were like, "Man, you're so positive." Well, what are the options? Negative? That's not going to do anything for me or for anyone else that I'm around.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think stuck out to me most. Right from the get-go, you were just so positive. You know, you didn't care about your hair, you cared about sharing a message, you cared about learning, you cared about asking questions so you could turn around and pass that on to the people
Yeah.
you have the opportunity to talk to. So I just will take a moment to say that you have and continue to inspire me in general when it comes to positivity. I don't know if I've ever seen you without a giant smile on your face, but if, especially knowing what you were going through during that period. So thank you for that. Um, it's
Welcome.
just a reminder to me that like whatever life throws at you, you it's not smiling doesn't make necessarily make change what's going on, but it can help you face hard things
Right.
a little bit better. And so
Yeah.
I appreciate that example from you. So let me ask you this. Been in the business going on 5 years now, facing that for, you know, the last
Yeah.
about, yeah, year, 18 months ish. How did that shift your focus on what it is we do and sharing information with people? How much more
Right.
important did that become based on what you were going through?
Um, it became even more important. And some of the reasons is the I had life insurance. I lived, it wasn't a terminal illness what I had, it was curable. And but we help people every day with, and we as a whole, as a company, and we talk about living benefits,
Yeah.
right? So I had life insurance. I was helping people in the industry, because I'm licensed, to make sure that they had living benefits. The product that I had did not have living benefits.
Mm,
I called the company. "Hey, I've been diagnosed." They're like, "Nope, you just have plain old term insurance." And what happened is in 2020, when I got that policy, living benefits were not an option.
mm,
It wasn't attached to it. So the first thing I did, and I was talking to someone on social media earlier, the first thing I did is like, oh my gosh, does everyone that I helped with this policy, do they have living benefits? Because I want to make sure that they're okay, that they're not going to have to walk through. Because what we have is we have our life experiences, we can now share with someone else.
Yes.
That's really what we have. So I have to take my experience and now make sure that the people that I had interact with that had these policies, the same type that I had, that they did. And it was in 2021 that the this insurance carrier started offering and having living benefits. So it's like, how many more people are out there that maybe think they have something and they don't? So that's really part of that mission, because I had to walk through it. And then with cancer, we never know if we're going to get it, but now it's 5 years. Typically, it's 5 years if someone's been diagnosed that they are cancer free before they could even be considered to some of the carriers to get life insurance.
Yeah.
And more people are getting cancer earlier. Can't explain it. Don't know the whole whatever about it. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, it does, but more and more people are getting it earlier. So you don't have to be 55 years old to start thinking about life insurance. We need
Yeah.
to start doing it earlier, I believe.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, I don't love the fact that you didn't have those benefits, but that because of being in this industry, because of having your own business, doing what we do, you knew immediately the importance it was to turn around and make sure that everybody you worked with
Yep.
had it, or at least saw the option to have it and understood what not having it meant. I started my business in 2019. So about a year before you, I got licensed in March of 2019. And so I'm coming up on 6 years. But that first year was my son's senior year in high school. He's getting ready to go into the military. And so, I mean, I was barely part-time in this business. It was a year of really learning and diving into the information, which was good for me. But it was 2020 that I really said, okay, he's graduated from boot camp. He's off doing his thing. It's time for me to really focus here, and move my business forward. And same thing, March, you're right. It was right around the 15th. The country shut down because my birthday is March 20th. And so you can go back on my social media, and on my birthday, obviously I couldn't be around people at that point. And so I was by myself, a brand new empty nester. I made a birthday hat out of a roll of toilet paper, and I put it over a floof ponytail on top of my head, and on live video sang myself happy birthday. And my people showed out for me. They came by and left stuff on my porch for me. I
I
had a
love it.
bottle of wine, and I think somebody dropped off a piece of one of my favorite cakes and all these things. And so I just made it as fun as I could. And that for me was kind of that transition and opening up in new areas, social media, which is something you do a really good job of, and finding new ways to connect with people because you couldn't go out and do it in person
Mhm.
the traditional
Mhm.
ways. Zoom became a thing that has
Yep.
changed our industry leaps and bounds. Now we can work with people all over the country without having to be there in person. So we have the ability to help more and more people. But during that first year or so, same thing for me. The term life products and even some of the permanent life products did not include living benefits. Some of them had
Right.
long-term care, but long-term care can be very specific. Living benefits are going to touch on chronic illnesses, critical
Mhm.
injuries, and then terminal illnesses. And then we have a carrier that also has an Alzheimer's rider that's specific for memory care. And so, as those things started to come to the forefront, I was like, oh, I need to make sure my people know this more too, and go back
Yeah.
and look at, hey, if you want these benefits in place, because here's one thing for people listening. If you have a life insurance product in place, there is a thing you can do called a replacement. And depending on the company you're with, you can look at different options for that. But just see if it makes sense to where you could replace it with a product that does include those living benefits. Now,
Right.
life insurance, look, it comes down to your age, your health, things like that. And so sometimes those may not be options, but it also gives us the ability to say, if we don't have an option to add that because based on your age, it's too expensive, or you've had, you know, who knows, whatever going on. What are some other things that we have in place where we can kind of create additional wealth that can fill in that gap
Right.
for you long term? And so
Yep.
we have the ability to have those conversations for people who maybe can't qualify for life insurance
Right.
because of a health issue, and something like that. So I love that that became so much more important for you because of your experience. And again, back to, you sharing your experience and being right in the mix of it with all of us. Our culture at Universal Wealth is special. It is
Yeah.
really special. And I don't have a problem saying I don't think it exists anywhere else. I worked for some
No.
great companies with some great people, whatever.
Some
Um,
people's.
and out of all those companies, there was maybe one where I felt like there was a good percentage of what we had,
Mhm.
but nothing quite to this level. And
Right.
so that's what makes this different. It's not just a culture. We're literally a family. And so we're lifting each
Yeah.
other up. We are praying for each other. We are praying to open our meetings.
Mhm.
And
The
so,
prayers.
yeah,
So
I mean,
definitely the prayers.
yeah. And so that's what I think brings this to a whole other level. But then we turn around and we care about our clients that same
Yeah.
way, and
Yep.
our new business partners coming in with us. So that being said, I want to transition to the life that you and your Bob, I love how you call him my Bob. I think it's the sweetest thing ever. So you and your Bob, um, decided a few months back, you've got
Yeah.
your
I'll tell you.
home in North Carolina, Outer Banks,
Hmm. Yep.
and you have an RV.
Yeah.
And we've already touched on the fact that you've always shown up. You want to learn, you want to immerse yourself, you want to become the best you can be at what it is that you do. And
Yep.
so talk a little bit about what that is now, the next level you took that to, and what
Yeah.
you and Bob are doing right now, because I think it's amazing.
Yeah. It's we we came out to I'm so right now physically I'm sitting in outside of Surprise, Arizona, El Mirage. So we came to our convention with the other company, part of the elite, in July. It's
Hmm.
hot in Arizona in July.
Yes, it
So
is.
that was middle of July. We flew out here and everything. Love the excitement, love the energy. Bob and I, there were two events in October the company was going to have, both in Arizona. One's in Arizona. We were going to fly to Mexico. And I told Bob, I'm like, we could go back and forth. We could, put the pets, we could fly back and forth and then stay at a hotel or whatever. And Laura says, hey, we have an RV. Why don't we just drive out there and stay for a few weeks? Laura also did not know it was 2,500 miles driving. I'm just being real. When I looked at it on a map, I was like, oh my gosh. But you know what? This is the important thing here. We made a decision.
Hmm.
We knew we were going to do it. We were back home. And so I've been in the industry almost 5 years. There's been ebbs and flows as there are in any business.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing, there's ebbs and flows. We've had some we've had life other than the cancer. We had a lot of things happen over the last 4 years, and we're sitting there at our home, and I love the Outer Banks, but I'm like, I need to be around the winners.
Yeah.
I need to be around the people. So we made a decision. We reached out to our leadership, our team, and said, hey, we're going to come to Arizona. We're going to drive out there for 5 weeks and blah blah blah. We didn't know that the company was getting ready to transition from one company to Universal Wealth.
Yeah.
So this is where we what we can tell ourselves. They said John and Tony and Cindy said, "Hey, Jason wants to get on a call with you." We were like, "Oh, he's going to tell us we can't come. He's going to tell us we can't go out there. He's going to tell us this." And finally, like at 45 minutes. What is he going to tell us? Like maybe, and then it's like, stop it. We're adults. We can do anything we want to do. We're
Hmm.
independent. I can do anything I want to do. Nobody can tell me I can't.
Yeah.
Right. So we got on the call with him and Jason was like, take a deep breath. We're leaving the company. We're creating universal wealth. And we were like, okay, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
We had made a decision. So that was July 31st. I have my notebook. July
Mm.
31st. September 3rd, we had cleaned our house, put it on to rent it to nurses, travel nurses. Labor Day, we had our RV, the dog and the cat. We started, we drove out to Arizona. It took us 12 days because we took some side trips and everything. But we made a decision, took the RV, we found a place to stay, and it was hot. I'm like, we have made a mistake. But the
Mm.
thing is, we were going to be here for 5 or 6 weeks, right? 5 or 6 weeks. And we decided we were going to stay. We've extended until March because we're around the winters, we're around the culture. Um, we like the people we're working with, and
Yeah.
we get to be a part of. And so we've had to make some other shifts and other decisions and have the most growth that we're having this year and looking forward to next year. So here we are. And
Yeah.
we're just, I'm looking at my Bob now. I'm like, we made a decision and we did it. How many people don't do it?
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that part of your story because there are amazing people. And I'll tell you, there are times I'm like, man, how did I get myself to Arizona? Right. And my parents live with me, and I'm like, well, Arizona would probably be good for them and be warm. They wouldn't, you know. So I moved them from Utah to North Texas, which the winters here are definitely more mild than they are in Utah, but really just they couldn't be in their home with all the stairs. And because I have my own business, I have that freedom of time. I'm
Hmm.
still present in the house the majority of the time I'm working. And
Right.
so, should something arise that they need me. And so my dad and I are able to tag team, caring for my mom with dementia. But I think, man, and there was a time, so before, about a year before my parents came to live with me, when the market was crazy, people were throwing money at you to buy your house. I was so tempted to sell my house and buy an RV and go on the road with my two
Oh
dogs.
my God.
And the one thing that held me back was being in the middle of nowhere and getting stranded and not having somebody on the road with me that could help me, or just that I'm not completely alone in the middle of nowhere with my two
Yeah.
dogs, right?
Yeah.
And so, and then too, I thought, man, I don't know anything about taking care of an RV. Okay, well, I could learn that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
that was the biggest thing at the time that held me back. But I know ultimately what held me back is I was positioning myself to be able to take my
Yeah.
parents in. And
Yeah.
so I'm a little jealous of the road life. Someday I'll get there. But I do, one of my big goals now is to families in Utah, my brother, his kids, the grandkids, and then their kids, the great grandkids. And so I do wish that we were a little bit closer where they could visit. So right now my goal is this next year to get a place somewhere between Salt Lake and Arizona so that I'm
Hmm.
close enough that I could road trip within a few hours either direction.
Yeah.
And then the family could come to us as well,
Yeah.
to the nicer weather, southern Utah, northern Arizona, some maybe south, what would it be? Southeastern Nevada, something. Um, and so we'll see. And then, you know, like when I'm there, I can have my house here in Texas be,
Yeah.
put it on Airbnb or short-term rentals
Yep.
like you guys did. And then when I'm
Hmm.
here, do the opposite there. And right now, I
Yeah.
think maybe my son would move in here. And so we just keep this upstairs room or the back bedroom downstairs as a bedroom for myself and Chris when we want to come to Texas. And then,
Yep.
my parents can be in Salt Lake with my brother or something. So I have all these visions and goals around that, but I love that you guys are getting to live that, and that by making that decision and going there, opened your eyes to the possibility of we can have and do both. And
Right.
you're
Yep.
also
That's what I want to.
building
Mhm.
new relationships outside of the business. They're creating a
Yes.
community for yourselves there too, which is
Yeah.
amazing. Um,
Um, yeah, I want to share one thing on that. So
yeah.
we are we decided I love my house. That's where my kids grew up. It's on the Outer
Mhm.
Banks. During the past couple of years when the market was crazy, Bob down the road, a couple of houses down, Bob's like, "Oh my God, they sold that house for 750,000. What could we get?" And I'm like, "This is the forever home." I have to keep
Mhm.
remembering that. And I don't, and I feel like sometimes that can limit me because I'm thinking like, oh, I could just sell that and go somewhere else. But that was a decision I made for my kids. It's the forever home. Because if I left the Outer Banks in that area, we'd never get back there. And it
Yeah.
is such a beautiful place. And, so it's like, I'm going to do what I can do to keep that house. My ultimate goal, and I wrote this December 18th of last year. I just found it by December 18th of 2026, which isn't limiting, by 1 year to 2 year. But I want to have that home paid for so that I don't have to rent it. And then maybe I can have people come and stay there for free that's never been to the Outer Banks so they get to experience the beauty. But because we're here, I'm expanding
Mhm.
what I'm thinking of, wow, I get to have, when we were there in July, the billionaire Ron Shirt said he travels with the weather.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I'll never be able to do that. Sounds crazy. Who gets to do that? And I'm like, wait a minute, I get to do that. You get to do that. Of course.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in Arizona in July in a motorhome, just so you know.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be that sexy, just you know.
Yeah. I don't
So
blame
it's
you.
like, yeah, where do I want to be next? Where do I want to be next? I don't have to be limited by a location where we inherited some money in 2021. Bob's dad passed away. We bought the motorhome. We second, it's 30 foot. It's not one of the big ones. Bob wants the big one next. Okay, let's do that. We beat ourselves up a little bit like, man, we shouldn't have spent that money on that. But you know what that gift gave us? The ability to be here
Mhm.
with, and it's paid for. So it's a gift that we can go then do other things. And who knows who we're going to meet along our journey.
Yeah.
I don't know what the outcome's going to be, but by being here, we're expanding our vision of not thinking, oh, I only had to look at in the park we're living in, we're staying in, we're renting. They have park models like little one bedrooms with a casita and everything. Nothing wrong with them. And it would
Yeah.
be a stepping stone. But my vision is like, why can't I have the house on the hill? Why can't I have that oceanfront property on the Outer Banks? Why
Mhm.
am I limiting? Why am I limiting myself? Jason said the other day, I was looking, I'm like, yeah, for 3 months, we're going to be here and 3 months here. He said, stop, look up. If you're constantly looking down at all the things you have to do, God's like, hey, man, I want you to look up. I've got so much more for you.
Mhm.
So that's expanding that vision that I needed instead of just focus on the things.
Yeah.
Good
But
job.
you and Bob are setting an example for the rest of us and everybody you talk to and meet along the way, regardless of the business, that it's possible. What's possible?
Hmm.
Possible to live
Yeah.
anywhere you want and multiple
Yeah.
places at the same time. We talk all the time about how in our business we can work from anywhere. That's exactly
Hmm.
what you guys are doing. You're
Yeah.
living proof of that. And so you're expanding your own minds and your own dreams, but you're providing evidence to the rest of us who aren't quite there yet. But it's on, I mean, I've got a beachfront property, I've got a cabin, and I've got a house on wheels all on my vision board that I can look over here at,
Yeah.
that are all within the next 5 years for me.
Yeah.
And but you're
Yep.
showing me it's possible just to keep
Yeah.
going. It's possible. And maybe I don't
Yep.
start in the order I think I will with those. But getting to all of that is absolutely possible. And
Hmm.
having it all be a part of my portfolio building my assets is just, that's the frosting on the cake. Or maybe that's the cake and being able to be in all the places of the frosting. I don't know. Either
I
way,
don't know. I don't know. I
it
like
looks like
that.
a really good cake to me.
I
So,
know. I know.
I love that you guys are living that. So one thing I want to ask you to share before we kind of start winding things down is you did a video, and I don't remember if I reached out to you about this or not, but you did a video. I think it was probably maybe a couple weeks ago, or a live on TikTok, talking about missed opportunities. And I meant to message you and tell you
I think
how
you
much
did.
that did I message
I
you?
think you
Okay.
did. I think you did.
That message just resonated with me so much. And I think it's a message that people need to hear. So, at whatever level will you take a few
Mhm.
minutes and just kind of
Yeah.
walk back through that? Because I think it's something to some degree we've all experienced, but also it's a huge part of why you are where you are with the opportunity you have today.
Yeah. Yep.
All
Yeah.
right.
Sure will. Yep. So, let's see. And let me see. I started working for a company in 2020. No, oh my gosh, 1987. Where do I think 2020? 1987. I started working for a company. My ex-husband was a police officer. We just did the job, did work that we had to do. A
Mm-hmm.
friend introduced me to Mary Kay, and that's why I said my skin was so nice. But
Yes,
a
it
friend
is.
introduced me to Mary Kay, and I went to the meetings. I bought in. When I go in, I go all in. Like I'm going into the top, right? So I
Yeah.
went in. I enjoyed doing it. My vision was, oh my gosh, a pink Cadillac. Nobody in my family has ever had a pink Cadillac or a Cadillac. So that would be great. I'd love to do that. I bought my ticket to go to the convention,
Mm-hmm.
and I'd never been to a convention before. I was 21, right?
Okay.
I, I was 21 years old. I bought the ticket to go to the convention. I asked my boss, because I had a boss, and she was like, okay, the founder of the company said, you can't go. You're a front counter hospitality and vacation rentals. You need to be here. And I'm like, I've already paid for my ticket, and it was $200. Like that was a lot of money to me, right? And he was like,
Yeah.
"You can't go. I need you here." And he said, "I'll pay for your ticket. You have to. You can't go." I didn't go. He reimbursed me for the ticket. I showed up on that weekend. I eventually stopped doing Mary Kay. I eventually the dream was squashed. And I think about it now sitting here, and I've tried other things along the way. When I got ready to leave that company after 28 years, I started putting things in place. Like I went to another company, I bought in all the way because it's always been in my heart. I didn't want to work there. They bought me. They
Mm-hmm.
bought me that day.
Yep.
And they continue to buy me with increased income. Like I made more money than anybody had ever made in my family. So they continue to buy me. And I lost dreams and visions along the way. And I was 21 or 22 years old before I had children. So when I sit here today and I came in here really not even knowing anything about the financial industry, that I thought that it was just going to be one of those things, but I continue to do it and the dream continues on because I missed that opportunity and I can't go back and change it. I can
Yeah.
learn from it. That's what we can do. And but it kind of came up not too long ago. I'm like, wow, what if I had gotten the pink one? What if all these things, and my life would be different than it is today? And I always take the good with the bad. But yeah, it's don't, if you something you want to do, go out and do it. Don't let anybody buy you.
Yeah. I love that story for that reason because I think every single one of us um has some version of that story.
Hmm.
Ironically, when I moved to Texas 19 years ago, I had a Mary Kay business myself. As a matter of fact, in my townhouse, I did in my townhouse in Salt Lake City, one of the bedrooms was painted the faintest color of pink that you could paint it. It was just a hint of pink, but and my whole closet was outfitted with shelves for my inventory, and I was
Yep.
building my business. And then when I had the opportunity to transfer to Texas, I worked for J.C. Penney at the time. So I had the opportunity to transfer to the home office here. Some things had happened uh with my husband's health and his business, and made me realize my job is the career of this family. So we're going to move to where I think the opportunity is for growth, because at the time I thought I'd be with JC Penney forever and I'd have Mary Kay on the side. And moved here. Mary Kay is literally 15 minutes down the tollway from me. Every time I
Yeah.
go into Dallas, I drive past that office. But I had come here the year before I moved here. I'd come here for the convention, and so I had that vision, that twinkle in my eyes. And then I moved here, and I, for whatever reason, this seed was planted that I'm in the home of Mary Kay. How can I compete and build a business here? And I have to start over and meet people. At the same time, or shortly thereafter, um, things were not great in my marriage. And so over the next year and a half, got to the point where we separated. He moved back to Utah, and I became a single mom. And so I think, like you said, we can't go back and change anything. And even there's so many things that's happened in every one of our lives. And I'm a believer that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be today.
Absolutely.
And if any one of those things would have happened differently, I might not be. And I
Yep.
might not be the person I am where I'm at today. And so I'm grateful for all of those shifts. Um, but I think your story was such a great example of, very specifically for me, it wasn't somebody, it was me talking me out of really
Hmm.
giving it a go in my own business. In your situation, it was letting somebody else tell you you couldn't do what you were dreaming about. And that's why I felt like it was so important, is that people hear the message that your dreams are valid. And
Hmm.
if you have a dream on your heart, it was put there for a reason, and not to let anybody tell you that it's not valid, that you can't
Yeah.
do it, that you're not allowed. Um, and don't, like you said, don't let somebody buy you from
Yeah.
your dreams and your
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
Um,
I can
and I,
still struggle with that. I can still
yeah,
struggle with the dreams.
me too.
And I've worked with different people to journal. And so were you on the call this morning?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So Bob and I have been talking about the dreams. And 2 years ago, or I guess a year ago, I was working with a manifestation coach because
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep searching. Yeah, I'm gonna keep searching.
Yeah.
And we were working on writing out my future, and that's where that other but Bob said this morning, and we just talked about it. We got married 8 years ago. We stood on a lot where my current house used to be. It used to be on the ocean in the 60s, and they moved it. That lot is vacant. 2 years ago or last year, I started manifesting. I'm going to buy that lot. I'm going to build the house. I'm going to build a vacation home. I'm going to build it for family. I'm going to build it for team. I'm going to
Mhm.
build that. And then this right here, man, if you get that house, it's going to be a lot to clean. It's just you and Bob. If you
Mhm.
do that, it's going to, you're going to have to get the lawn care person. You're going to have to do this. I talked myself out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If I can get that house, build that house, I'm going to be able to have someone to come take care of that. I don't have to clean the house anymore. But I
Yes.
talked myself out of it. So I pushed my dream down. That was just last year. So I think the important thing is we're constantly changing and growing. And I think that's what this business gives me um, more than anything else. It's the constant personal development
Yeah.
in order to be able to um, continue to. I haven't achieved it yet, but I'm still dreaming about it. And if we get to ask God for it, say it out loud, eventually it's going to happen. Or let me see, what's the word I said? Or this is it. this or something even better still is what
Yes.
I add to all of my this or something even better still, because it could be bigger than what we even think.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point from that is that as you believe and as you step in the direction of your dreams, they may change, but they're probably going to change bigger and better than what you were dreaming to begin with. And
Yeah.
so it's that multiplication of trusting, stepping out in faith, just making a decision. This is here for a reason. I am driven in this direction for a reason. I'm going to move in the direction of that. And I'm going to trust that it's going to end up as what I think or even better.
Yeah.
So I love that perspective. And I did love when Bob said this morning, this property is there and we are getting it. And there was not a hint. And I heard you back in the background saying, oh my gosh, oh my. And I loved that moment because I think that that is an example of something even at a different level. In this
Mhm.
business, we have the ability to build our business with our partners, with our people,
Yeah.
our spouses, you know, family. My son is licensed in the business
Good.
and my boyfriend was on his way to get licensed, but he loves what he does. It's very similar to what we do, but in the electricity sector, and he loves it. And
Hmm.
so he has chosen to just be my biggest supporter and cheer me on.
Well, there you go.
But on my dream board, a third of that dream board are the things he wants from what we both create through our businesses and contribute to
Mhm.
collectively.
Yeah. I
And
love it.
so, yeah, you have the ability that as you're growing, your people right around you in the four walls of your own home are growing and being impacted by what you're doing. And I tell clients all the time, when we first sit down, right, it's the overview, it's the general education. But then our second sit down is to focus on their numbers. And I always say, here's what I need you to come to this appointment with. But here's the most important thing you could bring it's your dreams and your goals. And I want you to dream beyond your
Mhm.
income today. I want you to dream so big it scares the living tar out of you. My job's to show you how you can put yourself in a position to have it all. But I
Yeah.
want you
It's
to dream
beautiful.
so big it scares the crap out of you. And yet every day I'm challenging myself to do the same, just like you said,
I
that
know.
there's
I
times
know.
we still struggle with that because you're like, man, literally when I wrote this down, it scared the crap out of me. And now my vision is like, but wait, there's more. And so I'm
Hmm.
like, wait a minute, I was scared before, but now I'm not so scared of what I was thinking. And so then it has no other choice but to grow. And that's the
Yeah.
hope, right? Because if you ever stop dreaming, you stop growing. And um, that just makes me sad to think about is that my mind would not still be expanding that way.
Yeah.
So, well, as we wind this down, I'm super grateful for your time, Laura, and you sharing your story. I think it's an important story to hear on so many levels. Um,
Thank you.
your battle with cancer, your focus on positivity, you and your Bob on the road, creating whatever you want life to be.
Yeah.
It's beautiful to watch, and I think it's important for people to hear. Life can be exactly what you want it to be. Just
Hmm.
go after it. Just one
Yeah.
step at a time. And so I appreciate you sharing that. Is there something you want to share to the people, the podcast people, as we close this out? A message or something?
The first thing I'm going to say for me is the if you believe in um, mammograms, some people don't. Please, that's what saved my life. Is I did not skip my mammogram, so that's why it was called early, and so that's very important to me. And then, as we just talked about at the end of this, we can go through the yes, I had cancer, my hair's grown back, but look at what did it give me? It gave me just another part of my story. So we all have a story, and it is important to share it. And I appreciate you allowing me to share it today. And just keep dreaming.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
You're
Final
welcome.
word. How can people find you I love what you put on TikTok, but I know you're very active on Instagram, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So how do people find you in those places?
So TikTok is Wonder Woman Finance. I've started doing that. I am working with someone to create a logo and kind of branding for that. I had to stick with it for a minute to make sure, and I think that is me. And then Instagram is just lauraglatz.me because we all just have to be ourselves, and that's what social media has allowed me to do is learn how to just be myself. I told you from the beginning, like in the past, I would have been like in the financial industry. It's like, oh,
Mhm.
I have to have my shirt right and my earrings and my makeup. But once you haven't had hair, you can be like, just show up and be yourself. So lauraglatz.me.
I love it. Yeah, please follow Laura. Her content is fun, it's educational. And you're right, Laura. Everybody's story matters. We all have one inside of us, and
Yeah.
somebody out there might be praying for an example of how to get to the other side of what they're facing right now. And if you don't share your story, um, their prayer might your story might be
Yeah.
the answer to their prayer is what I'm saying. So the answer they're
Mhm.
looking for might take longer, or they might not find
Yeah.
it if you don't share your
Yeah.
story. So I appreciate you doing that. um and of course, if you have questions about what we talked about, living benefits, creating a life of time freedom and the ability to work from anywhere, please reach out through the podcast link. Laura and I would love to sit down with you
Absolutely.
and, talk to you about how we can help answer questions or provide education around finances. But also, if you're looking for an opportunity to create more time freedom or to chase a dream of your own, we'd love to share about what we do and the business side of this. So please reach out and we'll set up some time to chat with you. But I want to thank you guys for joining me today on the Nickels and Dimes podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Kime, and I look forward to continuing to bring you amazing content each week that will educate you, support you, and most importantly, help you find financial freedom. I look forward to having you listen and learn in future episodes. And until then, take care and stay safe.